Oh, wow. Yeah, that's pungent.
There's no flavor. It's just dirty burn.
It's like gasoline on the tongue.
This might be a shorter podcast than we expected.
I am not sweating, but there's a piece of my mouth right now that I cannot feel.
Welcome to the Collaborative Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer Krause. Our guests today are Urish MD PhD, practicing volume knee replacement surgeon and a brilliant bioscientist and researcher of amazing new medical technology, and Costa Nikou, one of the OGs of surgical robotics, employee one at Blue Belt Technologies, later acquired by Smith & Nephew, and the originator of many robots that Urish has personally qualified. Guys, welcome to the pod.
It is an honor to be here on this very special occasion.
200th episode, baby.
Yes.
Thank you for coming back. It's good to have you. Thank you for coming back as well, sir.
My pleasure, and great to see Ken in person. It's been a little while.
It's been almost a decade.
Since we've seen each other?
Yeah, 5 years. 5 years.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
So what is on the agenda today?
Okay,
what is
so
special? I see many things in front of me.
We've got many things in front of us and a wide-angle shot, which we don't normally do. So for this episode, this is the 200th episode, I thought we would do something totally original that nobody's ever thought of before, except Costa, who came up with this idea. And so
Totally original.
Totally original.
I had a vision. I woke up at 2 a.m. I said, a podcast with, and I don't want to steal your thunder.
Well, it's our thunder, but the totally original idea that no one's ever thought of here is to have progressively spicier hot sauces, which you can see here labeled by the number of Scoville units on the hot sauce.
That's a medical term, isn't it?
So for this totally original episode with this concept that Costa came up with all by himself and I had nothing to do with for legal purposes, we're going to eat progressively spicier hot sauces, and we're going to just ask some interview questions, and it's going to be fun. So let's get into it, guys.
Progressively hotter hot sauces.
So we've got...
That's a really good idea. This would just naturally create conversation and be entertaining.
Right, and as it gets more physically... difficult to endure toward the end, I think it's going to produce an interesting result from a conversational perspective. Okay. I think. I mean, nobody's ever done this before, so we don't know.
Yeah.
The grand experiment. I love it.
Truly.
Let's do it.
Truly pushing the boundaries.
Really, just original ideas for the 200th episode. Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys.
So how do we get started?
All right. So we've got this buffalo flavored hot sauce that's 1,800 Scoville units on the Scoville unit scale.
A mere 1,800.
A mere 1,800s. I'm going to put some on one of my wings. Some of these sauces did say they were lab tested, but I'm just not sure how you would do that.
Okay, I'm here. I've got a little bit going on here.
All right. So Ken, you're an MD and a PhD. Which degree do you regret more, and which one does your mother actually brag about?
You know, there are two ways to go through graduate school. You can pay the tuition, or you can give them a little bit of your soul. And the wonderful thing about the medical scientist training program is you just give them a little bit of your soul.
Lovely. That sounds way better from a loan act.
Yeah. It all depends on how you cut it. But seriously, it was a very, very special time in my life because of the people that you get to meet and the things that you get exposed to. Which actually, you know, because that was actually the start of all my stuff over at Carnegie Mellon with the robotics, that then opened up the doors with Blue Belt when they were getting started. And otherwise, I never would have known. We would have never have met.
Yeah.
So Costa, how did you meet Ken? Like, what was the first time you guys met each other? What was that like?
I don't remember how long ago it was, but certainly by the time we
How many gray hairs did you have? I don't think there was any
gray hairs.
Zero gray hairs.
Until I met you, Ken. And then after I got to know Ken, I think that we started working more regularly together. I'm not sure if you ever were at the building on Liberty Avenue.
No, yeah, I have multiple pictures of that building.
Okay. It's all a blur for me, got to be honest. But certainly once we finally moved into the three crossings in the Strip District, we were working pretty regularly together. You were kind of one of our go-to guys, and that was one of the great things about working with surgeons from Pittsburgh was, you know, you give them a call and number one, they're always interested. All the surgeons that we've worked with in town have been very interested in working with us, especially Ken. and come over in a drop of a hat, and they give us great feedback, right? A lot of docs are there, and they're working, they're on the clock, it's more reputation based, but guys like Ken really love the work. They love the design, they love the execution, they love the science, and they've really helped us out. And so, geez, like we moved into that building literally it was like when COVID shut everything down. It was 2020 when we moved into that. So it's got to be at least 8 years, if not 10 years that we've known each other.
Over the stacks.
Yeah.
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 That is awesome.
Yeah.
Shall we try another hot sauce?
Okay, it's time.
Well, wait, should we review? I mean, what do you guys think?
Oh, well, it's
All right, yeah, I'll go for it.
it was rather mild.
I mean, it was the mildest one.
Yes, I know, but which is good because if I was intimidated by that, it would not go well.
That would be a harbinger of
this would be a very difficult podcast to do.
challenging
Yep.
evening and morning to come.
Yeah, this is a hot sauce that one of my children could easily consume.
Yeah, no, I like that one. Actually, to be honest, I
Safe.
normally don't enjoy buffalo hot sauces, and I like that one quite a lot.
There's something to it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I agree. It's good. There's a little bit of a tingle, but nothing that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
How do you guys think like Scoville units are rated? Do you think there's an objective scale, or it's just random? Like some guy just is like, I think it's about this, and you can't take out your phone.
I know. I would look at the engineer,
I think
the man that can quantify.
I think, and this is based on only memory and not a lot of research. Was it Mr. Scoville tried some wings or something similarly hot and said that's pretty hot, and then the next time he tried something that's twice as hot, and he doubled the number of Scoville units.
And that's how we got to millions of Scoville
It's
units.
because they just kept inventing new peppers.
Okay.
Yep.
And it's like, we have to double it again. It was like a logarithmic thing. Because if you look at the labels here, we started in the 1500s or so.
Yeah.
And the last bottle that we have here is somewhere in pushing 2 million.
Over 2 million, yeah.
2 million.
The
Like,
big
that's a lot
bottles.
of, that's
The
a
big
lot
bottles
of,
scare me.
Orders
those
of
are,
magnitude
those
more
are a lot of
Scovilles.
molecules sitting on your tongue during the burning process.
I want to see that next one.
All right, so we've got a 7,000 Scoville unit bottle. I believe it's made from crushed red pepper.
This, just kind of wait. Do we have to shake a little bit there just to kind of?
I pre-shook them. I made sure that we are totally in emulsified solution.
Now, I believe your background, you're electrical, correct?
I am not. I am a computer science major from the Carnegie Mellon University.
I did not know that.
Yes. All software, no hardware.
I studied computer science as well, and then I used that degree 0 times.
I used it all
Because
the time.
you're
until I
officially a
stopped coding.
hardware.
No,
Right.
No,
Well, no.
Oh, he's a hardware.
I'm known for hardware. Yeah,
You're
my,
hardware. No.
like I was on the Robot Report.
I was busy
podcast,
looking at
and
my wing. I
episode
didn't
was
see which
titled
way
"Why
it is.
Hardware is the Next Engineering Frontier." I'm a contrarian, is what I am.
So this is actually very interesting then, because we have the hardware, we have the software, and we have the end user, all together enjoying some wings, just hammering out the problems.
Love it.
We may invent a new robot after this.
We might invent a new robot during this.
Let's start a company, guys. Let's do it.
So what are your thoughts?
Well, it's spicier. Like I can
It's
actually
sweet,
feel this
though.
one.
It's sweet.
It's good. I still like it. But I also feel like I'm a little bit fearful of what's to come because we're still in like the single digit thousands.
The baby peppers.
Yeah,
This
this
is just
is
the
the second
initiation.
1 out of 10, and I'm starting to. My tongue is telling me that this is hot.
There's something there.
Yeah. All right. So Costa, explain to our audience what a surgical robot actually does in the OR, and what's the biggest misconception patients have when they hear a robot did my knee.
Well, with few exceptions, when a robot did your knee, it's not really the robot doing your knee. It's someone like Ken here who's actually doing the knee. The robot is providing a level of control and accuracy that wouldn't necessarily be possible by just sort of looking at the joint and deciding where the cutting guides or the instruments go. The main benefit of robotics is really about understanding the full joint, the patient specificity of it, and providing alignment according to that particular patient, and letting the robot constrain you to that plan. Whereas in more traditional surgery, it really comes down to sort of using anatomic, like generic designs, like particular angles that are designed towards an average patient that are meant to kind of one size fits all according to the design of the implant. And so robotics allows you to have a level of customization that's particular to either soft tissue or hard tissue constraints that the surgeon can then assess manipulate, and then control and provide the final plan, which is constrained in some cases by the robot. And then if the robot is overly constraining because there's some special situation or the surgeon wants to make a different decision, they can go manual and make adjustments according to that. And so it's really about getting more information, digitally collected, three-dimensional anatomy assessment, and doing all the math for you as opposed to having to do calculations in your head and try to figure out the geometry of the implants and the position of the patient and all the things that come with that. Having that solution be a little bit better served to the surgeon and then kind of provided with constraints and bumper bars from the standpoint of performing the surgery.
So it's effectively a tool.
It's a tool. And it can be used very well by great surgeons, and it can be used poorly by average or below average surgeons. But ultimately, it gives you more information that you can take and then make adjustments on. The robots are never making the decisions for the surgeons. They are providing more information that the surgeons can use to provide a better solution for the patient.
If you mention that you're going to be doing the procedure with the robot, the biggest thing I've noticed is that my patients will get this look, and this is going to date me a little bit, but it's like the robot from Lost in Space is going to walk into the room and start, this is a robotic surgery. Robots.
Danger.
Yeah, no, the robot's going to be doing this.
Robot you're talking about.
Yeah, everyone does, right? That's what you think
hose.
of. Yeah. But and what I've learned to explain, robot's a little bit of a misnomer. What's really going on is it's a different way to quantify what we're doing, right? There's with the Smith & Nephew, it's a burr or there's a device, some hardware involved to do this. But the secret sauce is really measuring what you're doing and coming up with a plan from that to end with an outcome.
Right. And in more recent years, it's extra information. So I know the Smith & Nephew robot has a tensioning device that can give more soft tissue information about the tension of the knee that doesn't immediately become apparent from imaging. So in the beginning, there was sort of the first orthodoc, which is like a CT scan for hip replacement. And it's like, here's your bone. Here's how you cut a spherical hole out of your bone to put in your hip implant. And that was great, right? There was more information than they had at the time. But as the technology has evolved, you're able to collect soft tissue information that wouldn't necessarily be coming from a CT scan or even an MRI about how tight your joint is and how kind of natural your motion is. So you could feed that in and actually provide, ligament tension as part of the equation. And it's all done and simulated by the robot, right?
This is software.
Right. So it's software and it's math and it's models and all these sorts of things, but it's more information that you would have had rather than just sort of kind of feeling it and then making a judgment call about sort of how tight or how loose you wanted to get to.
Yeah, no, the RoboDoc. It was like first principles, and on the engineering side, it was like the proof of concept of you have the hardware that can do this. But what really made it something new and different in the OR is when they started doing the soft tissue tension, which is that's the secret that's the secret sauce in arthroplasty, right? And that's then what that value of bringing that into the OR to get everything started.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. This episode of Collaborative with Spencer Krause is brought to you by Rockwell Park. If you're building something in tech, robotics, AI, or even advanced manufacturing, Rockwell Park is already home to companies just like yours. Located right here in the historic East End of Pittsburgh, Rockwell Park has spaces starting at 1,000 square feet all the way up to over 100,000 square feet. So if you're an early-stage startup or even a Fortune 500 company, here you can scale without limits. Look, we built this studio in Rockwell Park. We love working with these guys. You should check them out. If you're interested, go to rockwellpark.com. Collaborative with Spencer Krause is sponsored by SKA Robotics. If you're in the market for elite field robotics expertise, please consider hiring SKA Robotics. They sponsor this podcast and solve some of the toughest engineering problems in the world. SKA Robotics can be found at skarobotics.com.
We doing the next one now?
I think we can do the next one.
Okay.
Ready
Because
for the
I've been
next
looking.
You're like the taskmaster, like next.
Well, because
next,
I've been looking.
next.
I'm ready.
You're curious about
Yes.
it. It's a darker sauce there. It's
It's
smoky.
25,000 Scoville units. So this is the most Scovilles we've had so far, and let's see what it does to us.
Are we going to talk about who provided the wings tonight, or is that going to remain secret?
I don't think it's particularly relevant. I mean, we can. I don't know. Should we give a shout to our boys?
I want to give a shout to Salvatore's because they're
good wings.
They're great wings,
Yeah.
and I want to give credit where credit is due. We are augmenting. They're unsauced because, of course, we have a brand new idea that's never been thought of before. But these are great breaded wings from Salvatore's, which is just right down the road from us, and I'm happy to give them a little bit of love. Although we'll see how much love this hot sauce gives us. And I apologize to our editor for not speaking into the mic more often. I'm just trying not to sauce it up. That's all.
Saucy. So I think that there might be something wrong with the Scoville scale because this one feels less spicy than the last one.
It's a little bit more like I mean, it's good, but it is not as hot as the last.
Yeah, for sure. Google might have failed us on the spiciness of these sauces.
It tastes like A1.
No. Surprise.
It's good, but it's not hot at all. That should have been at the beginning.
Ken, joint infection is the number one reason knee replacements get revised, and you've just launched Retain to attack it, a first-in-class anti-film biofilm agent. So what makes biofilm such a nightmare that it took until 2026 for someone to take a real shot at them?
Well, the sort of the fine print with that is I'm helping out. Yeah, I've been involved.
Okay, we can redo that.
No, yeah. I mean, you don't need to redo. It's the biggest thing I've learned from being part of this this one FDA study is, it has been a work in progress that got started back in the 1990s, right? That then took 15 years before it could hit pre-IND, and then another few years of the pre-IND before they started the phase 1, and then things just kind of keep on speeding up to the phase 2, 3. But the sheer volume of just smart minds and the value, like this is like on the engineering side, right? The value of a team to bring something through to the finish line. I'm sure you've never seen anything like that in any
Never in
projects
my
you've
career.
done. Yes.
Yeah, no, we all do it by ourselves.
But yet, so what you're really getting at is why is the biofilm so difficult to get rid of? And it's interesting because when you think of an infection, you think of the Lysol commercial where they spray some Lysol on it, and you see the 99.9%, or from the engineering perspective, the 3 logs of killing. And really, what's going on is, bacteria doesn't just float around, in solution like that. Its pathologic state, when it's actually set up in the body, it's a community, right? It's got its extracellular matrix, just like all of our tissue has an extracellular matrix. And that extracellular matrix just happens to be what we call the biofilm. And when it's set up like that, it's geared to be very tolerant to antibiotics. And so it's just very, very difficult to get rid of.
That makes a lot of sense. Should we try the next hot sauce now?
100%.
There's what is the next number here?
All right, the next number that we're up against is 36,000 Scoville.
Right. So for point of reference, the last one was 25,000. It was a lie.
It was a lie. So we'll see how accurate the Scoville scale is on this one.
I believe the engineering term is variability.
It was a false negative.
Yeah. I truly enjoy Spencer coming on this podcast because it lets me pretend that I'm an engineer again.
I mean, I feel like you still are.
So what was your undergrad training?
I was a chemical engineer.
Chemical engineer.
Yeah, so you're computer
science,
chemical.
Computer science and business double major.
So my youngest son, is a business major at South Carolina. I'm not sure he knows what that means yet because he hasn't taken any of the real classes, and he's engineering curious. He's not quite sure. What would you say was the takeaway of your business schooling relative to your computer science schooling, and where did that inform you where you are today, which is a fairly eclectic mix of entrepreneurialism and podcast wizardry?
I think I got those degrees because I wanted them. I mean, when I went into undergrad, I was engineering undecided because I knew I liked building things, but I had no idea what I wanted to do out of the 3 choices I had, which were computer science, mechanical engineering, and electrical engineering. at the time. There was no robotics program at Case Western or University of Pittsburgh. And and I knew I wanted to, like, at some point start a company. So I figured I had to get the business degree to be qualified for that, you know. And so, because I didn't know any better. And so I would say, I don't know. I mean, it was a good primer. It was a good way to meet other people that were like-minded. But, I mean, I would say I've learned so much more just being out in the real world and working than I ever did in school. Not to slag on school. I think it's an important point in my development, and I'm sure both of yours, where, you know, it's a special time. You don't really have your feet to the fire the same way that you do when you're out actually having to generate results. But I don't know. Like, it's just not the same for me. Hopefully that doesn't sound too cynical.
No, I think I went through computer science at Carnegie Mellon University, and I learned more in my part-time summer job about writing code than I did in anything in school. Maybe with the exception of operating system, which is the weed out class from a discipline perspective, right?
Oh, yeah.
But like going into the lab, it was a manipulation lab under Matt Mason, who is not at CMU anymore, but he's a legend in robotic manipulation. I worked for him and a grad student, Kevin Lynch, who's now at I think Northwestern. And they just drop you in. They're like, hey, there's this robot and it needs to do this, so go write software to do that. And you're like, okay, how do I do that? And you start reading, right? And you learn how to kind of bootstrap some sort of effort. And the grad student and the professor don't have time to tell you exactly what to do. You just have to figure it out. And so over that summer, I figured out how to write a user interface. I learned a brand new language. I did all these sorts of things, and I loved it. Like, it was fantastic. And that's that sort of like perfect university sophomore year, summer, or whatever, sophomore or junior year, whatever it was, that like everything is just, it's nothing but learning and joy, right? And so you have no idea. And that's when I sort of fell in love with coding for real, because you were building it as opposed to being like, I want to like write video games someday. I don't really know what that means. To like, oh, I built this thing that I created, I figured out, and I learned that people are using it and they like it and they want more of it. Like that was the kicker, right? Like that reaction. Yeah.
Well, I think so much of your education, it's not the classes, it's everything that goes along with that environment where the classes happen to be, right? If you just show up and you're checking, the classes are the boxes. Whereas if you're taking advantage of everything that's around you, you're getting those experiences to really take that learning to the next level. You know, like, it's interesting, you know, so like we were talking about, it's my background, I'm a chemical engineer. And then my PhD was in bioengineering, but it was really doing electrical engineering kind of stuff with robotics over at Carnegie Mellon. And that's when I really learned, you know, engineering, it's all the same, chemical, mechanical, electrical. It's a hard problem with some basic concepts of, you know, thermodynamics, mass transport, force diagrams, you name it. And you just bang your head against the wall, right? That's how you learn. You're like, that's the wall. And you just kind of beat against it for a while, and then you get to the next wall.
That's awesome. Well, and now that you mention that, to be honest, I feel like, I mean, I don't mean any disrespect to my professors, although I'm sure they'll perceive it that way. But like, I got more out of like being involved with the Carnegie Mellon Robotics Club as like a Pitt student that snuck in as an undergrad, you know, than I did from like any of my classes. I don't know. I just feel like finding like-minded people that wanted to work on stuff, and then figuring out how to like amalgamate a bunch of them into a group, and then like getting things actually
building the team. You were building the team,
building teams, and like breaking things, and like figuring out what worked and what didn't work. I mean, that for me was what I lived for in those days.
Yeah.
But I think like you just said it, like sneaking in to the CME Robotics Club as a Pitt student, right? Like the fact that you can do that's a success, that you can win at that. Like some people are like, oh, I can't do that. I can't sneak into this other program. They're not going to let me in.
You gotta have confidence.
You have confidence. You have sort of that mentality of being able to like just do it and just say why not, right?
Well,
those are life skills.
You're
right?
breaking the rules in a very reasonable and, you know, commendable way.
Well, thank you guys.
Yeah,
appreciate you both.
Yeah.
It's very much about the engineering. It's like this is how we're going to solve this problem. It is going to be solved.
And I don't care if nobody ever thought to do it that way, or there's no book that says that's the solution.
It's I really should know this better, but pulling my age here, it's the in Star Trek, Captain Kirk had do you remember the name of
What's
the
Star Trek? I've never heard of that.
It was the unsolvable problem, right? They put you in the no-win scenario, but Captain Kirk was famous
This
going
was
through.
Kobayashi?
Yeah, the Kobayashi.
Yeah.
Thank you. You see, you know. It was a no-win scenario, and he figured out how to win. And it was, he hacked into the program the night before, changed the code, and because it was set up, it was a code, it was a program. There was no way to win, and so he hacked into it, changed the code so that he could win.
I love that.
Kobayashi.
I thought he was a hot dog guy. He's not the hot dog guy?
I believe that's the name of the next sauce,
The name of the next sauce. Let's
or
get
that's
to it.
actually that's the 2 million Scoville.
All right, this one is 49,000 Scoville.
49.
Let's give it a go.
All right.
And the last one I thought was noticeably hotter, but manageable.
Yeah, no, I think
it was
that
a little bit at the end, at the tail end.
Yeah.
There was like this sort of like piquant. Is that the right? Is that right? For dabble in the French. At the end of it, there was like a note of heat at the end, but all still good. Nothing unmanageable. Nothing out of the ordinary so far.
I think one of the other things that we should be doing here is like a little bit of the smell of
Pouring it into your nose.
It really because it really primes the it stings the nares, as they say.
Honestly, I think that like that second sauce was a red herring. Like I think that got me worried that these were all going to be terrible.
Gemini steered us wrong on the Scoville units.
Well, and now I'm getting a false sense of confidence.
The West Indian one. That's my money's on that one.
Retain is in phase 2 out of 3, randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled, the real deal. What does the field look like if it works? And what's your honest gut on the odds, knowing most trials don't make it?
So that's actually a few questions. The way I sort of frame it, so this is basically a new class of antibiotics, being developed by Peptologics, and they have the last major new broad spectrum antibiotic that came out of FDA studies were carbapenems back in 1984. So, and this is like the classic stuff that you read about. Antibiotic resistant bacteria, no new classes of antibiotics in the pipeline, this desert of lack of development. And so kind of answers the first one. The proof of concept with this, if it works, really starts to reignite everything, is a really important proof of concept that there are still a lot of innovations to be made. Right. And, this was a synthetic. So peptides are very interesting because it's a string of amino acids. You can then start to control and engineer them for certain specific shapes or properties, so this was a rationally designed compound. They started with something that was naturally occurring and then just sequentially, re-engineered it in the lab, making it more and more specific for the bacteria.
So it's hyper-targeted.
Yeah, completely changed the properties around for the naturally occurring peptide so that it had less side effects, safer, but also a lot more efficacy and more lethal to the bacteria. And so, the one end of this that's really innovative is, wow, this is our first new broad spectrum class of antibiotics in, 40 years. But the second part, and it fits in perfectly now with all this AI. Look, we have something that we rationally designed to be better, and it worked very well. And now, just the fact that it's going through phase 2-3 studies is in itself an unbelievable accomplishment. And so then, so the second part that is, the probability of this working. Well, actually the hard part with peptides was safety. Peptides have been known forever, the antimicrobial peptides, but they've never been used because of side effects and toxicity. They never got out of the animal models. So actually, the big hurdle for this drug was safety, which they proved back with all the pre-IND and animal models. And their phase 1, this was being injected systemically. And so if you can inject something systemically, and now this is a topical exposure, so the overall the overall exposure now for the phase 2-3, this new indication for surgical infections is so much lower. you've avoided all the risks that goes along with the safety and the side effects. And its ability to work, we know really well already because, it destroys the biofilm in 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It's just so fast.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Actually, it's really cool because that's actually, it's a fun engineering story. But so to answer your question, we'll see. Like I have a tremendous. I wouldn't be working on this if I wasn't very confident that it was gonna actually finish itself up. But on the same end, you never want to actually give the numbers because you don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, it's like that scene in Star Wars. Never tell me the odds.
Yes.
So,
but this is actually a great example of because the underlying theme here is like the training and how you learn what you learn, right? It's like the larger than life kind of concepts of how you became what you became. And so there was a really talented undergrad that had just finished up, first hire for the team in the lab, and he started working, and I'm like, well, we've got this somebody had pointed me towards this new peptide, and they said, well, you should check this out. I'm like, oh, so you give it to the undergrad that's just kind of rolled in the lab, and he's like, it killed all the bacteria, and bacteria in the biofilm, it's antibiotic tolerant. An antibiotic takes 5 days before it will sterilize like your little implant. I'm like,
wow.
well, so obviously you did this experiment the wrong way. So there's nothing there at 24 hours. It takes 5 days for something to work. You need to do some time points here. And he comes back a second time and goes, I did a 2-hour time point. I did a 6-hour time point. I did 24. It's all dead. I'm like, you need to put bacteria into the broth. So I don't see a control, right? So let's do a control times 0. So he does it a third time. He's like, look, my control, there's lots of biofilm on it. It's all over the place. And now he has like a 1 hour or 2 hour. I'm like, this isn't working in 1 hour. This is not how an antimicrobial works. So I want some fast time points. Like I want it right after you put it in there. And so we had to do it at 30 seconds of exposure to actually have some bacteria that you could culture off of your little coupon, right?
That's awesome. Like time lapse.
Yes. No, it was and then so you go back to the Montelera lab that was working with this, and there's this other great guy named Tony DeSucius, and I'm like, Tony, I was like, it's all dead. He's like, yeah, that's pretty much how it works. but so he learned.
Knew.
Yeah, no, but I mean, this is like your team of one, right? You have this really talented undergrad, John Mandel, and he just series of experiments showing that it worked well, right? And then you kind of go back and you're like, oh, this matches up. It's like those stories back when you're getting started, very serendipitous. Like, oh, that's not working, and actually, it became special. Because under certain other conditions, it just didn't work well, and and now you're testing it, and where does it fall apart? Where is it working well? And that's what really made it special. There's something here, and that's actually then when I started collaborating a lot more with the group that eventually became Peptologics, and really enjoying how that team was developing what they were doing.
It's amazing when you're trying to prove that you didn't screw up the experiment, as opposed to like.
But that's
works,
I mean no, but
right?
if it's too good to be true, if you learn more from when you think you're making a mistake and it's not working, right? Versus we're going to do this experiment and this is what we expect and it happens and you move on to the next step, as compared to we're going to do this experiment and this is not the results that we expect. That is truly where the learning and the good engineering, the design really happens.
That's awesome.
The medicine truck. Yes.
135,000 Scovilles coming up next, guys.
All right.
This one might actually get us to break Schwitz. All right, this one, just from licking my fingers there, I think this is going to cause a reaction with the amount I put on this wing.
Actually, hold on here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
This is the olfactory.
That's the 6-digit.
Okay, so... oh wow, yeah, that's pungent.
It's a
slow burn. It's building up on my tongue.
It's not a slow burn. It's a medium to fast burn.
Yeah, you can feel that. All right, well here I go.
All right, here we go.
Ouch.
It's like gasoline on the tongue.
That one hurts.
There's no flavor. It's just dirty burn.
Now it has started.
Yeah, this is the apparently least spicy. This is my first time having milk since I was a kid. So what's a piece of standard practice?
My eyes are spitzing.
Me as well.
I don't like that there's 4 more bottles.
We got this. Maybe we'll just go with smaller amounts.
Smaller amount.
Yeah, should not have really doused that wing in this. This is there's a lot going on here now.
This might be a shorter podcast than we expected. Oh, the milk is warm too. Oh.
All right, what is the standard practice in orthopedics right now that you privately believe will look barbaric in 20 years?
How we treat infection.
Nice.
Hopefully we and it's the biggest problem we have, and it's the most room for innovation. And there's a lot of really exciting new innovation and translational stuff happening right now that I think is going to really make an impact over the next few years.
Lovely.
And yeah, that's what because my mouth is on fire right now.
So you just got to get right to the point.
Yep, you're going to get, this is what it is.
Costa, what about you? What do you think?
I think I have a lot of trouble with the next 4 bottles of hot sauce. That's what I think. I would say using a saw if it wasn't so efficient. It's so fast to do a cut with a saw on your standard knee surgery. But I think in 20 years there will probably be some biologic solution, at least on the horizon, if not already in place. And so we'll talk about cutting the bone away as barbaric in general. But there are so many better ways to reshape the bone other than just lopping off a slab. We started to get there with robotic precision, just resurfacing of the knee and of the hip. But in 20 years, we'll be probably talking about injecting something that just grows everything back.
Maybe 25.
Your money's better than mine on that. Cool. By all indications, this next one should be roughly twice as bad as the last one.
Right. So this is 200,000 Scovilles. It's green in color.
I would go a little bit more of a gentler pour on this one.
Yeah, I think this one I'm just gonna put like a small pea or smaller sized amount and see what happens.
A little dabble, do you?
Yes, I don't know if I can. I will still smell this, but I'm worried of what might happen.
I have to say though, you seem less physically affected than Spencer and I. I could see Spencer's temperature rising.
Yes,
just from over here.
Well, you have to share. Oh, you have to. Okay.
He's not even going to go for the whole wing.
Oh, wow. Just put it right on.
Salvatore serves whole wings, by the way, whole breaded wings, and they are very good.
Oh, goodness.
Ample.
Oh, goodness.
But the piquant seems to be affecting
spicier
you.
or less spicy than the last one to you?
Oh, my gosh. It's like a light. That does not look like natural. That's a light green. It's almost like some sort of essential
transmission
oil.
Fluid is, I believe, the overall consistency here.
Oh my goodness! I'm gonna shake it because all the
you're just gonna get more capsicum.
Nope, it's the same color. That's it. All right. I'm not even gonna put it on the plate and dip. I'm just gonna like a little bit.
I put 3 drops on the wing.
Oh, that was faster.
Meter it out more next time. So if you had to swap jobs for a year, Ken builds the robots, Costa scrubs in. What's the first mistake you guys make, and what does it look like roughly?
My biggest fear, if I started, and this is just from back in my grad school days when I was doing the code, that you create the bug that destabilizes the whole system and can't be fixed. It's the ground zero, right? Like I've ruined it.
So for me, in my work, I've always done the opening of the patient to get the implant in. So you prepare the patient, we were in cadaver labs, and so you figure out how to do a really bad incision and a bad access, and you do the work, but you never have to put them back together again. And to me, that's the missing thing. Like when stuff goes wrong, how do you put them back together again? Whether it is just in a good case or in the unfortunate worst case. And so I can't imagine like the levels of contingency you have to worry about and all the factors. Like for us, it was just like, how do I get to the bone so that we can use the robot on it? And then like we don't have to worry about it after that. So
Well, that's an interesting setup because when you're an engineer and you're trying to develop and design the technique, you're breaking things all over the place. You get yourself into like the no-win scenarios where you're like, this can't be fixed. And the surgical side is it's risk management.
Yeah.
Where there is always an out. Because this is what we think about this all the time. It's like if this happens, I can do this. If that happens, this would be the solution. Like there's always a way to fix what's going on.
Yeah. I remember the earliest days when we were doing partial knee replacements. We had done all software, and they give us an implant, and they say, make the robot put this implant in. We were putting this implant in wrong for like a year. We're doing all of our testing and things. It was a uni. We didn't rotate it enough, so like we had the wrong distal plane. We had rotated 45 degrees. You rotate that 45 degrees, it becomes really easy, right? Because everything is wide over exposure and stuff. And then we learned the actual way that you put it in, and we're like, oh my God, how are we going to do that? It's like buried in there. It's all is so much. And that was just with like healthy patients, right? And so the level, like you can math it out, you can simulate it, you can use plastic bones all you want, but until you understand what like a real patient looks like with osteophytes and arthritis and all these things,
it's the problem of exposure, right? If it's just the bone, it's an easy problem. Very famous surgeon, a mentor of mine, had a comment. There's two of them actually. Anybody can operate with the lights on. It takes true skill to do it in the dark, right? Because it was a very nice way of saying if you're not, the secrets of all this is having the right exposure and the right equipment and the right tools, like the right robot, to execute your plan. And if you don't know how to see what you need to see, you're not going to be able to do it.
100%.
And the second one was this was up when I was up in Boston. Somebody said, exposure begets confidence, and confidence begets exposure. Very philosophical, but the ability to be able to see what you're doing makes it easy, and will only help you execute that plan and you're faster, you're more efficient, everybody does better. It's all that. I mean, that's what makes it special.
It carries over. So in my second job in cochlear implantation, we would talk to neurologists. Like the most experienced ones would talk about the level of exposure they were willing to do and spend the time. Like a lot of surgeons constrain themselves because they're afraid, in that case, of the facial nerve, right? Where you're burrowing down and you're trying to get down in, and the facial nerves, that's something you definitely want to avoid. But the skill in being able to sort of skeletonize that and avoid that to give yourself the visibility that you need to do the rest of the procedure properly was something that was a big hill to climb. And so that's exactly right. And it applies to all surgery. Like if you can see what you're doing, then you're in good shape.
It's very easy.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. But which gets back to actually that initial concept of the robot is really it's a new tool to quantify what we're trying to do. It's sort of like the next step from the exposure. I now that I can see what I need to see, I have this, like I want to have my knee in this, because it's all about the ligament tension as you're going through range of motion and getting the right kinematics back. And it's, getting everything just so, within half a millimeter to really have it fine tuned.
How do you adjust ligament tension?
Well, that's that's sort of that was the game changer that when the blue belt, and then Smith and Nephew came out, was talking about when your knee is in extension and mid flexion and flexion, all the different ligaments around the knee are in different tensions, and so having that balance so that you have the same tension as you're going through range of motion, and that's what it allows you to measure. And so now you can move. Before we would do. One, it would be a little bit more by feel or some manual instrumentation, but the second, but we were adjusting it by releasing certain ligaments or soft tissue procedures to give yourself a little bit more space or to get it where you wanted to. And the real interesting part about the robot is that it allowed you to do very small manipulations with your bony cuts to eliminate some of the soft tissue releases, which was, I think, a lot more delicate with the soft tissue.
Yeah, you can only go one way when you're releasing ligament tension. Like when you're affecting the soft tissue, you can kind of, what's the term that they use whenever you're sort of like making
Pie
it
crusting?
thinner? Pie crusting.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yes. So
But only in a valgus knee, but that's a technical joke there. So
yeah, but I mean, the idea is that you're cutting the soft tissues in order to allow them to stretch further, right? And that's only one way, right? Whereas the computer-assisted surgery allows you to adjust where you start to move your implant in order to give yourself more space or less space.
But you're also doing it before you're doing any of the cuts.
Exactly.
I mean, this is truly measure twice, cut once.
Exactly right. Right. And you can do it in all degrees of freedom as opposed to like, okay, well, I'm left with this implant. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
Right. And so it's game changing, and it allows all the 3D math that can't do in your head while you're in surgery is done by the computer, and you can provide that visually so the surgeon has controls.
It allows you to do certain maneuvers that you just don't have the precision to do with a saw. So you're going to, can we eliminate the saw? Well, this is, this allowed us to do very small little changes on our cuts. A knee replacement's really it's a surgery of degrees and millimeters, and a small little difference can really, it's interesting. Our implant sizes go up by, a millimeter or a millimeter and a half, and you wouldn't think that you'd notice that difference, but you switch it around and you're like, oh, that's, you can kind of sense it. But the nice thing with the robot is actually you can start to see it.
Yeah, and in manual surgery, it's sort of sequential, right? Where you sort of commit to certain aspects of it as you go, and it's really hard to go backwards. Where in robotic surgery, you do everything all at once, and you have all the information in all degrees of freedom, and then you commit. And so it's just a different way of thinking about it, and that's why there's a bit of a learning curve, because people learn the recipe as opposed to the dish, to kind of butcher a metaphor.
I think that makes sense.
Well, but the important, it's interesting though, because especially with everybody that's the trainee, the fellows, and the residents that are coming out, I think they've almost been put a little bit disadvantage that they don't understand the classical way to do this, like with the manual instrumentation.
Oh, interesting.
And it's because the robot made my manual instrumentation, like, because there's still I think a lot of advantages on certain aspects with using manual instrumentation, but it made my manual knees better. But on the flip side, knowing how to do a really good manual knee makes my robotic knees much better. Like it's two different tools that really can help just overall make it more efficient and a better outcome. Is it time?
You want to go to the next one?
No.
What did you guys think? What did you think of that? I mean, that was like was like a slab of butter. That was like nothing.
That was not as bad as
like
the
a spritz of lime.
I think we may have miscalculated some of these Scoville units on these.
Google AI is just still flawed.
It reminds me of a certain type of, if you could get a burrito shop that would have a certain green salsa. I don't know if you're allowed to do product placement here, so
I might be overconfident with this one that's meant to be 250, but I smelled it. I don't think it's going to hurt us.
So this is a West Indian, I believe, and so it's a little bit different flavor profile, and the viscosity implies some sort of a sugary, syrupy sort of consistency. So it might be a slow emergence as you get through the sweetness.
Oh, you think that the sugary syrupy is hiding the heat?
I think that there's a layer of sugary sweetness, and then it's bam.
Yeah.
And they're gonna have to edit that out. Sorry, guys. I didn't smell it. How was the smell before the taste?
The smell was not bad, and this really is not.
Are you sure that shouldn't have been 1.3 million as opposed to 135,000? Is it just just a label maker problem?
I think this is actually a great example of why you cannot trust AI, and it needs to be human verified. Because this is actually, I think, the most tame we've had so far.
It's definitely one of the tamer. It's good. I like it. This one I would just eat for pleasure.
I am not sweating.
100%.
Yeah. This one is 750,000 Scoville.
750. So this is 6 times harder than the one that made us stop.
According to the Scoville scale.
According to the Scoville.
The super objective.
Dr. Scoville has been dead for 100 years.
Was Scoville a doctor?
I don't know.
Is that what he did?
I don't know. I don't know if he was a doctor.
Was it a she?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Sexist by assuming Scoville was a he? Is robotic surgery actually better for patients, or is it better for marketing departments? Where's the outcome data that justifies the price tag?
I'm going to let the vapors go before I answer this difficult question.
I'm watching to get the response to know
I feel
if
like
this is
there's
safe
a
or not.
little bit in there that I just didn't tap into. I'm going to go again just for dramatic effect.
Yeah, this one's not so bad.
It's lurking in the shadows.
It's going to be a slow burn.
Something there, but not as bad. Thank God.
So the answer is yes. So it is better for patients, and it's better for marketing. And the marketing side has been proven, right? Stryker is putting in a major part of their surgeries, if not a majority of their surgeries, with a robot. And they're the leaders, and they have won so far with their takeover of the market in robotic knee surgery. Da Vinci has proven that robotic surgery can move the needle from a marketing and from an adoption standpoint. But that's not just to say it's not valuable. And the difficulty with evaluating robotic surgery is that it's not the robot. Like, the robot executes to a plan. The surgery allows the surgeon to choose whatever the plan is going to be for that patient, whether it is driven sort of a telerobotic, sort of like Da Vinci, where the surgeon is doing the surgery themselves and it's sort of filtered and amplified by the robot, magnified or minimized or whatever, or in the case of the orthopedic robots, where the surgeon chooses where the implant is going to go, and then the robot allows them to execute on that. But the plan is the thing in that case. And you could have bad plans. And so you could have a surgeon that is using a robot to do a really bad plan, or you can have a surgeon use a robot to do a kind of hyper-informed, really good plan. I believe that the complexity of a knee surgery, with the joint being multifactorial, multiple degrees of freedom, multiple curvatures, appreciating soft tissues and things, will be better with a robot, because you cannot keep all of those numbers in your head. You cannot do the trigonometry that's involved in figuring out what a half a degree or a full degree is going to do to all of the effects in your soft tissue balancing. The computer can do that for you if you have the right information. So I 100% agree in robotic surgery from a planning, a measurement, and execution perspective. But a surgeon can always make a bad plan, and the robot will accept that, because the robot is not doing the surgery from the beginning to the end. They're helping with parts of the surgery, but it's still the human in the loop that is making the decisions based on what is going on. And so as the robot is able to collect more information and leverage data and leverage AI and algorithms and simulations and things, the advantage that the surgeon has with experience will be sort of leveled off. I don't think we're there yet. But I think that we're to the point where we have the ability now to collect all the data that we can, and in 15 years we can see how those patients did and see what the good decisions were and the bad decisions were, and then that balance between sort of human intuition versus tried and true data will start to balance out. And I think that the robotic surgery will then necessarily be better, because it is leveraging all of the things that we've learned, as opposed to whatever one particular surgeon may have learned over the course of their career. But there's a lot of challenges to that. There's data sharing, privacy, all these considerations about how do you get that data into the big brain that makes those decisions, and how much do you allow doctors to vary from those based on their intuition. And so it raises a lot of big questions about how fast we could or should go, and we're wrestling with those now. But suffice to say, as far as I know, the surgeon is still the one in control, and they're the ones that are making the decisions about what the robot does, and then the robot does it. That will be just as good, I think, as the robot the surgeon not having the robot at their disposal to do what they want to do.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense to me.
This is kind of feeding. We're opening up. I've got the best job in the world, so I agree. So yes to both. I think that there's a much bigger magnifying glass on its marketing. I wish that part didn't exist, because I have a proportion of my patients that I do robotically. There's a proportion that's manual, and it's because each one has its advantages, disadvantages, and certain patients are coming in and they're like, I want this or I want that, and my job is I just want to help them out, right? This is a tool. Is this going to be the right tool, or is this not the right tool? and it muddies the water and it makes it a little bit more difficult to do what we're supposed to do, which is just give the patient a good outcome.
Yeah. I think, though, that if you look at like what will necessarily pay for those technological advancements, the marketing has to be part of evolving the tooling, because it's expensive and it's hard to build these things. And so you're never going to get those without either massive sort of hopeful investment or the market sort of figuring that out. And I think that we're doing things in a safe way because, again, the surgeons are in control. They're just leveraging these tools, and we'll learn over time how these tools make things better. But I personally, as someone that's been involved in building those tools, have a lot of confidence in the opportunity for them to make things
I
better.
think that the marketing is it dilutes out the true value that's being brought by this new technique and tool. And the example, there's this kind of new approach that people are playing with on the total knee side. This is something that was hammered out back in the 2000s, and it's just a marketing ploy, right? There is no value with this. But everybody's coming in saying, oh, like we were told that, because it's a marketing thing. We were told that this is better and it's new and it's shiny, and it's going to be another fad that just kind of rolls out because there's no value with it. It's all marketing. Whereas what makes all the stuff that's been done on the design side and the engineering with the robotics is its ability to give you a better outcome. And I understand where the marketing's come from, but it dilutes out the true value of what's going on.
Yeah, but I think if you look at if you're looking at early 2000s, like the navigation pre-robotic era, like all of those navigation systems were like, how accurate can we get to 0 degrees for everybody?
Yeah.
And so much of that data was like, how accurately can the navigation system give you everybody the exact same 0 degree cuts? And what's happened in the meantime is robotics provided some time and some further ability and some, I guess, patience with assessing that 0 is not really everybody's needs. Like my dad has 2 partial knees done here in Pittsburgh. He's knock-kneed as hell. Like that's how he's always been. That natural alignment, as opposed to resetting him to a 0 degree knee alignment, doesn't make a lot of sense.
If you don't know a lot about knee replacements, what we're talking about here is the classical teaching is that the leg had to be perfectly straight. Right. No variation in 1 degree. You wanted it 180 degrees, like a line right down the middle. And, this is a great example. One of the things that robotics taught me for my manual knees, because I actually have a lot of these manual tools that I call the robot when I'm doing a manual knee. And when I was using these tools before a lot of the robotic stuff for total knees, my goal was that neutral mechanical axis right down the middle. But it required a lot of soft tissue releases, and you're doing this other work. And one of the things I learned from the robot is actually people like it when you don't go all the way. There are these special kind of phenotypes and groups. And so this is like my manual knees became better from the robot because I learned I don't need to make them 180 degrees straight. Right. And this is sort of like that big data thing you were talking about. For the early adopters, when you had all these different a few different surgeons working on these, learning how to use it and what it was teaching them, we all sort of independently ended up with a very same type of philosophy because you're doing this over and over, and you're saying, wait, it's not perfectly straight, they do better. And all of a sudden, you start to leave a little bit of, we call it varus or valgus.
Right. Yeah, and it's time, right? Yeah. It's the technology was there. We're like, hey, ideally we can go straight leg, and here's this way to go straight leg, despite all of the other idiosyncrasies of surgical navigation. And they tried it, and it didn't really pan out. And the learning there, I think, over time was that, well, it's because the target was wrong, right? You were aiming for the wrong value for each person, and robotics is built on all of that technique and that science and technology, and it's allowed us over time to appreciate things better. And so, like I said, 100% confident that robotics will be better. But, again, the marketing side of it allows it to kind of exist as a thing that can be done. Otherwise, it's super expensive and just a lab project without there being products attached to that kind of capability.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay.
This is the scary one.
There's one bottle left.
This one is apparently 2.6 million Scovilles here in my hand. This is the finisher. This is the one that I'll be honest, I'm a little bit fearful about.
I have been looking at that bottle this entire podcast. And as we're getting this started, I just want you to know, being 200 episodes, my kids think I'm special because when they Google me and they see your podcast, they go, "Wow, my dad is on a podcast." It's really interesting when your kids are like, "Dad, I Googled you, and you were on a podcast, and I was impressed."
Dude, this podcast is the only thing I do that my parents are proud of.
And I don't know if the room is hot or if it's the Schofield units.
I think it's because he just took the lid off of that.
Yeah, probably. I think that's a little flame. Did you see the smoke?
Oh, come on, you could do that.
Oh, you could do so much better than that. I don't even see it.
That's like debris from the lid. Come on.
This does not sound as bad as the one that we had about 4 ago.
Yeah. I think you guys got to trust the bottle shape. Like Dr.
I agree.
Dr. Slappy's elixir for health over there is definitely.
That's the one that hurts you.
I don't know, guys. This is bad TV if you don't go a whole hog on this.
Ooh. Yeah.
I just
got my milk. I'm good.
The overall sensation of my breathing all that hot sauce in that's on the plate, it actually kind of really burned.
So what did you guys think of the last one? Like the one that we had before this?
It was there, but it was manageable.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it got me more than I was expecting. Like
the slow burn is a very nice way of talking about it.
Yeah.
It was just kind of there throughout the entire question.
For sure. Yeah. It just lingered.
Mm-hmm.
And I chugged the whole glass of water while I was doing that.
So what is the timing now? When do we eat and when do you ask the question?
So I think what I've learned from this totally new concept that we invented is that I'm going to ask the question as you guys are eating, and then I will eat the wing after to go there with you, but so that I can ask the question in a way where people can actually understand the words.
We can all enter the sweat lodge together.
All right. So each of you, name one trend or technology in orthopedics right now that you think is pure hype and how it's going to burn hundreds of millions of dollars before everyone admits it. You don't have to say names or who it is, but you just allude to it. And then give me the actual year a robot does a knee replacement with zero surgeon hands on it. And then Ken, whatever year Costa says, tell him why he's wrong.
There's a lot more going on there, I'll be honest. Wow. Go ahead.
Well, number one, baby bottle there is definitely the winner in
Yes.
the hotness. This is hot, but it's not
Nothing like
not
that.
like
Baby
involuntary response inducing. Let's put it that way.
My tongue is on fire, but not my entire mouth.
So the trends in orthopedics, I mean, I've been away from orthopedics for a few years now. I can bet on AI being the trend in orthopedics that is both going to revolutionize but also be sort of on the waste can of history, right? With AI, you need data. Getting data is really hard. And so the ability for the systems to optimize for any particular patient requires that multiple patients are, and when I say multiple, I mean millions and billions of patients to be contributing their data to the cause of optimizing surgery. And so that's going to take time, and it's going to take regulation. It's going to take all of that sort of thing. I think the quick flashes in the pan that will be necessarily marketed as AI are going to be, kind of minimal. But the long-term play is going to be the way that we revolutionize surgery, where the solutions are made apparent for us. So hopefully that answers the question. But I'm not sweating too much.
Yeah, that's part A.
Well, so I am not sweating, but there's a piece of my mouth right now that I cannot feel. It's very unique. It's done. I think the entire it's.
I'm going to the other side of my mouth.
Yes,
Where we
that's
had the lighter can.
Yep. The it's interesting that you bring up the AI. So data is the resource for that to make it useful. I think there will be many flashes, and it'll be a marketing thing, right? That the marketing will get involved, and it will devalue it, and it just won't be useful. I think the problem with AI with surgery is you need to have AI that you can understand. Right? And so we had this conversation, I think back during the very first time that we talked, where AI is really, it's machine learning, it's classification, right? And the computer's learning to recognize patterns. And if you can't understand what that pattern is, it's gonna come up with something of like, these are bad, these are good. But you need to know why they are good. It requires a certain ground roots understanding of why for this patient that is a good solution, because otherwise you're doing something without understanding it, and it won't end up with a good outcome.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, you wonder whether or not we'll ever get that explanation of why, or if we'll just step into this is better because the data says.
No, actually, no. It's going to be a learning process. And it's as you get that data, and so there's a lot of different groups that are trying to hash this out now. Like, you sort of start to learn this stuff. If you've got a certain type of anatomical deformity, we learn, like, if you're a little bit bow-legged, especially if you're really like a stiff bow-legged, that they actually kind of like to stay just a little bit bow-legged as well. Like, you don't want to completely correct it, right? And that's sort of like the first step for an understanding of, well, that's different than this other knee that is really loose and you can make it straight, and they do very well with that. Or if 90% of the knees, are just, or it's more than that, but have a really, I think of this as sort of the fast recovery knees. There are certain groups of knees that show up, and they're there, and 2 weeks later they're like, I can't believe they've just recovered all the way, and it's like, why can't all of my knees be like that every single time? And it's because we don't have the understanding of how do you put it in.
Well, I guess that's what I'm saying is like, is that explanation of why going to ever be made apparent versus the trend will move to, if you just follow the algorithm, you'll get a smaller margin of error.
Yeah,
right?
I think the answer is like, we're not monkeys just like like hammering out a box. Right. The surgery is more than just this like technical, like I'm here and I'm going to do this because that's what the plan. It's like I'm talking to my kids where they put the address in and the computer says, like, you drive off in this direction, and they don't know how to read a map. Because if you don't know how to read a map and you don't know where you're going, it's very easy to end up in the wrong spot.
Well, yeah, but I mean, my kids don't know they don't know what Route 22 is because they just follow the GPS.
Yes.
Right? And so if they just always do that, then they'll never know why they go the way they go. They just go the way Google tells them to.
Yep.
And I'm not trying to minimize surgical training. I'm just saying over time, like, that will necessarily be kind of the model that people look to as something that has data behind it and something that is followable and sort of bankable from the statistics perspective, as opposed to perhaps Claude or whomever, whatever, explaining, it's because these patients have better proprioception whenever you leave this much valgus in a particular knee. Like, will it ever be made apparent in terms that we currently understand versus a variance that we just kind of apply?
Here is the analogy, right? We're going to go Route 22. It's before it got upgraded, right? That was the most efficient way to get somewhere. But if you don't know that it's Route 22 and why it's getting you there, you don't understand its limitations. And so the part of that may be right. Like you look at the big data and it says this is a better way to do it. So people are kind of doing that. But I think a really important part of and this is just sort of how I think just humans and this is how engineers operate at a basic level. Why? Because if you understand why that's better, then you understand its limitations. And like if we just give it an extra lane or two, like it'll be even better, right? That's how you get the interstate, right? Because there's a red light and that's the bottleneck, and we just need to learn how to put exits in and get there faster. Hopefully.
As someone that lives on the east side of the greater Pittsburgh area, I can appreciate that analogy.
Yes. Or bridges, right? Like if only we had a bridge
every 30 feet.
If we just had another lane in that damn tunnel.
Yeah.
All right, and then the other one is I guess, all right, Costa, I'll ask you first, but what do you think the actual year is that, like, I mean, and this kind of follows on your answer to the last one, that a robot can do a knee replacement surgery without a surgeon touching it, like just totally autonomously on its own?
Well, so I guess it's a matter of what does it mean to do an autonomous surgery. So today, there are robots that can make all of the cuts in a knee replacement. Let's just use knee replacement, right? And you know, spine robots and things, and once you put things in place, can do, quote, the sort of the technical part of the surgery, but all of the predecessors of opening and preparing and laying out and
I'm
attaching
talking the robot
frames,
from Lost in Space, like walking into the room.
right? 30 years.
All right. What do you think, Ken?
Never.
Nice.
And here's why. Everybody looks at the surgery and thinks it's a technical procedure. And surgery is a science and it's an art. And the decision making that goes before the surgery and all the decision making and the discussion after the surgery is just as important, if not more important, than the surgery itself. Right? And you know, people don't appreciate this, but I spend, you know, if you sum up the time, the preoperative preparation to do a knee replacement is hours, whereas the knee surgery itself, you know, it's done. You know, it's done in an hour. You know, it's almost done by the time you get there. You know, all the hard stuff to avoid the problems, to have the patient prepared, to get a good outcome. Like if you don't have a good prep, you're never going to have a good outcome. And you know, to do that requires a certain human interaction that I don't think you'll ever get from a robot anytime in a reasonable near future.
Do you feel that surgeons will become more managers of the workflow as opposed to central to from skin to skin?
Yeah, so that's actually this is now like a tool, right? Where it's, you know, if you have something that can execute the perfect plan, that actually is a really great way to sort of define what's the important part of the surgery. You know, having a technically precise and very accurate way is very, very important. But the hard part is everything before and after. And so I could see something like that maybe at some point in, you know, a few decades from now.
Yeah. I mean, looking at sort of the difference between
After I retire.
1996, which is the year that I graduated from college, to today, 30 years. I don't see a future where we're not having at least a really good try of having some humanoid robot pushed by our benevolent dictator Elon Musk in the OR, trying to do parts of the procedure at least. For safety.
Well, you know, right? So about that time was DARPA's first challenge out of Carnegie Mellon.
Right.
I don't want those robots doing a surgery.
No, but a great example is, so you had DARPA and you had that was about the same year as they did the autonomous driving.
The red Humvee.
Yeah, no, that was the autonomous, you know, where it was just like simple little GPS coordinates, like, you know, following the cookie crumbs, right? And it couldn't even, like, barely, you know, like most of them couldn't even, no, I don't think anybody actually solved the challenge that first year that did it, which was about 1996. Yeah. And so now we're 30 years later, and, you know, now we're actually starting to see some autonomous stuff, you know, from a driving perspective, and they're interacting.
Yeah.
Like a Waymo.
Yeah. So, but with that, it's still not completely autonomous yet, right? You have all the engineers in the back, or the surgeons managing what's going on, because you have those special case scenarios where it needs to be watched over.
Right. So it'll definitely need to be. And so the question is, where is the surgeon still with their finger on the e-stop or ready to step in, or is this something that happens
I would
kind of
think
as a
so,
routine?
just based on the liability
I think that it has to be. There always has to be a human in the loop until we've hit some major milestone.
But
that allows
eventually,
people to
right?
not
I mean,
be.
if you do, like, you know, 10,000 surgeries where nobody has to hit the e-stop, at some point you get comfortable enough to say, maybe we can have, you know, 10 surgeries going on under one physician at the same time.
But to Ken's point, like, how far has Waymo moved past the sort of liability to kind of car accidents, right? I don't know what the statistics are. I don't track the thing, but I would guess that autonomous driving is way safer today than human driving is.
Oh, I mean, they're better driver. Like I was.
But people still don't want to give up that autonomy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
I like driving my car.
that is where we will be 30 years from now. After I retire.
The day that Ken retires, they can have it all.
Yeah. I'll stop by at your pepper farm, with your 2 million real Schofield units.
Yeah, no, I agree. Baby Bottle was scarier than the finisher.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a slow burn. After I was done answering my part of the question, it started to kind of
I put
creep
such
in.
a small amount on because I was fearful that I barely felt it.
Oh, no, it was the one part of my mouth was numb.
Yeah.
It didn't even actually hurt. It was very impressive.
All right. So, as we're nearing the end of the episode.
200 episodes. Congratulations again, my friend.
Thanks. Yeah, likewise. Thank you for being part of a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, it's been an honor. It's always a good
I had ordered
conversation.
200 wings, but it didn't pull through. They didn't have the capability.
I am so full after the amount I ate. I'm in great shape. All right. So, is there anything you want to leave our listeners with? I usually say there's anything you want to plug, but I mean, in this case, I think just like a message, something, just to think about or kind of to take with you as you leave the episode.
One of the fun concepts, the themes that we're sort of kind of running through is all the stuff you learned getting started and, building a team and all the, when you take it that extra step, right? It's not the classes, it's what you're doing beyond the classes to truly master a subject and how it paid off later on. Yeah, I'm surprised how each step of my training or what I'm doing, how much it has helped. There you go. And then I'm looking forward to episode number 300.
Likewise, buddy.
Yeah. Maybe on that theme. So I watched the last episode of The Bear last night. If you follow that, it's a great show. But I think the take-home message from that is it's about the people that you work with and the folks that rally around an idea, that are passionate, that try to get it done. And you can plug in any product name or any company name in there, and the people will talk about the group of people they worked with, not the product, not the idea, not the technology. And so let's keep that in mind, that the people that you bond with in those experiences are really what matter.
It's the team.
Amen.
Solving a problem.
Like this team. Congratulations, Ken, on you have to be the 4-time.
I only think it's been 3.
I think this is the third.
Third.
Is this the third?
Only the third.
I think it's the third.
It's like an SNL cast member.
That's right.
Spencer,
The
it is an
3-timers
honor.
club.
Anytime.
It's an honor and a privilege. Thank you.
Likewise.
Congratulations to you for doing 200 of these. Listen to 200 people or a little less talk about the same stuff for 200 episodes.
It's different stuff. I mean, we mix it up. But yeah, thanks for coming on. Thanks for being a part of it. And 200 episodes, baby. See you at 300.
Maybe 4.
Thanks for joining us today. If you've made it this far, chances are you'll like other episodes too. Collaborative with Spencer Krause can be found on YouTube, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and Radio Public. Subscribe today to get notified when the latest episodes release and support the channel. Have an idea for a guest I should interview? Hop in the comments and let me know who that is. I'm always looking for new people to talk to, and chances are you know folks that I don't yet. Thanks for coming in, and I'll see you on the next one. Collaborative with Spencer Krause is sponsored by SKA Robotics. If you're in the market for elite field robotics expertise, please consider hiring SKA Robotics. They sponsor this podcast and solve some of the toughest engineering problems in the world. SKA Robotics can be found at skarobotics.com.